mind a typical classroom group. Is this what you envision? Now let us show you what we've envisioned when we thought of someone who uses cannabis. This is a simple fix with medical cannabis.
This is Charlotte. Charlotte is a 6-year-old medical cannabis user. She suffers from a rare form of epilepsy known as Dravet syndrome, and most kids that have this syndrome die within the first 2 years of living, and it's completely unstoppable. Her whole family went through the whole $1 million work of spinal tap, blood tests, bone marrow samples, everything, and nothing. They couldn't find anything. They ended up moving from New Jersey all the way to Colorado, packing up everything, their whole house, everything, and moving there, just to find a certain strain of cannabis known as Charlotte's Web. And this cannabis is, instead of having more THC, the psychoactive product, there's more CBD, which is a more medical benefit. And it stopped her from having 300 seizures every week, 2 seizures an hour, and she was completely catatonic. Went down to 3 seizures every 8 months.
It's our belief that the problem is that people are unaware of the uses for cannabis, such as treating agoraphobia, bulimia, bipolar disorder, anxiety disorder, anorexia, insomnia, MS, acquired hypothyroidism, Alzheimer's, Asperger's, ADD, colitis, cystic fibrosis, autism, and there's more.
So we're going to take a minute to listen to Dr. Julie Holland. She's an American psychopharmacologist, and she's going to explain to you what the endocannabinoid system is. Okay, so in your body, everybody already has a little bit of cannabis in them, known as the endocannabinoid system. It regulates the whole homeostasis of your body, which is your balance. It regulates your liver, your brain, your stomach, everything in your body. And there's two receptors called CB1 receptors and CB2 receptors. And inside your brain, there is CB1 receptors all inside your brain, but they're not actually found in your brainstem, which means you cannot actually overdose on cannabis like you can with other prescription pills like Vicodin, Xanax, hydrocodone, oxycodone. Okay, and so here's a few. I'm going to touch on a few of the diseases that cannabis can affect. So with Alzheimer's, your brain deteriorates, you lose your memory. With the introduction of cannabis, it slows the rate at which your brain deteriorates, it increases your overall cognitive functioning, and it reduces the inflammation and neurotoxicity that is caused by Alzheimer's. Seizures and epilepsy. Many kids have severe seizures, like Charlotte. The introduction of CBD can actually completely stop a seizure. Severe seizure, like 2-hour seizure, it can completely stop. Able to control seizures that pills like Xanax and oxycodone and hydrocodone can't. And it can because it totally calms down your central nervous system. Cancer. So, cancer is treated with chemotherapy. Chemotherapy causes loss of appetite. And cannabis can increase your appetite, making you eat more. It'll slow the growth of cancerous cells. And it actually promotes something called apoptosis, which is triggered cell death, and it will actually go target the cancerous cells and destroy them. And then, in the calming the central nervous system, it can help with insomnia, PTSD, sleep apnea, depression, multiple sclerosis, hypertension, and many more. And a big thing with all of these diseases that I just mentioned is pain. Almost all of them induce pain. Cannabis is a very good alternative to all of the prescription pills that are now given to kids for these pain. Every 19 minutes, a life is taken from overdosing on those certain pills. But you can't overdose on cannabis because there is no receptors in your brainstem. And for some kids, like Charlotte, it is literally the only way for her to live.
Some alternatives are doing nothing by allowing the laws to stay the same, sticking with standardized treatments, including chemotherapy, pain suppression pills, and furthermore, and researching into more drugs such as marinol, which is a man-made form of cannabis.
Our policy will include making cannabis legal for medical purposes. You must be prescribed by a doctor. The medication by a licensed doctor. You may be of any age to use medication, so there'd be no restrictions on children like Charlotte who need to use cannabis. So it can just be teenagers or adults. It help children like her. And it is believed to help any medical condition with inducing pain.
Okay. Our action plan is to educate, explain, and promote. We want to educate our superiors about the positives that medical cannabis could do for our ill people. We want to explain how it could potentially save the lives and eliminate the stress of having to make a big move to already legalized states. And to promote the idea of a healthier and happier life. The main goal of our plan will be to influence the decision made by our government legislatures by lobbying. Our action plan starts with you. We need to build momentum and support in order to take this to the county. We will present this to the county reps who will then help us reach out and present to other counties. We can then write a bill in the form of medical cannabis to change the laws. By now we can take it to the state. Our goal is to get this passed to the state level. We know this is an uphill battle, but we need to do it for our kids and our ill people, parents and families that need further medical attention.
And we have a video of, this is Alex Eccles. He's an 11-year-old boy that suffers from a severe form of autism. Since there's no sound, we're just gonna explain it, but his parents, what is it, 3 times a day that he receives marijuana, and he is this is just explaining his disease.
Before the marijuana, Alex would have violent outrages caused by his autism. And he can't talk, so he can't explain to his parents why he's upset. And the only way to calm Alex down now is through a serum that they created with cannabis. It was, they piggybacked off Charlotte's West and her type of drug, and they moved to Colorado. And they got that and syrup so they could help him and calm down his violent rages, because he was at the point where he was starting to lose brain function from, he would run into walls, and they had to put a helmet on him just to protect him from himself.
He would literally beat himself until he was bleeding, his whole face is bloody, and with the instant induced cannabis, he's fine. And he would be able to play with toys and go outside like a normal kid. Any questions?
That was my next. Yep, we have time to answer questions.
You want to start?
Well, I'll start. My name's Chris Megashar, not Cynthia Baker, by the way. I forgot you guys at the last moment. However, how do you guys reconcile the fact that federal law, Controlled Substances Act of 1970, says that there is no medical use for marijuana?
Back then, they based those off of, they didn't have solid facts on why. They just saw that kids were lighting up and getting baked and all that stuff. But then now we have actual solid proof from Colorado and facts that show that it has medical benefits and real life examples of kids that have only been able to live because of this drug.
And also, during this time, it was mostly the tobacco industry that had pushed for the legalization of marijuana because it was cutting into their business. So therefore, it was a lot of propaganda built up from reefer madness and all the stuff that put a fear into the world of society. And so there was more of a push against it without much testing, without much looking into it.
It's still against the law.
It is, but now it's been tested in labs, and we actually had a university that.
Oh yeah, the Madrid University. They did tests, and that's where all of our facts came from the Alzheimer's, the epilepsy, and there's been like solid examples of kids benefiting and their lives increasing just from the use of medical cannabis.
What resources have you used to actually find all the, because you talked about the good parts, the good sides of the drug, right? What research have you done to collect all that data to support it? Who did you talk to?
The University of Madrid. Mr. Simmons, we talked to Officer Krask, we talked to Mr. Scheib, who's also a teacher here. We talked to Coach Clark,
Miss Cummins.
Miss Cummins.
So did they say, out of all the people and out of all the research that you have done, because obviously you want this project to work, so we talked about the good sides. But to be critical, did you look at the bad sides, why actually that law exists, besides the reasons you already talked about?
Well, a lot of the backlash that we got from like the people we interviewed here, because they are teachers, they do give like the theories they have. They made a point to say it needs to be like regulated, like to have dosages and to make sure that somebody can't abuse the drug in a way that it could be. And it is the whole difference between the THC and the CBD. THC is a psychoactive. Obviously, you're not going to prescribe somebody a psychoactive for something that's not going to help them. So it would need to be regulated that it be a CBD only and that could be transformed into it.
And a lot of the people that we talked to were just basically uneducated. They didn't understand the topic, you know? So, yeah. And
So that's why your purpose is to educate.
yes, yes.
Okay.
Because we feel like if people know the benefits and understand them, then they'll see it.
Was there a, throughout this project, was there like a more of a set handful of size that you guys worked with to see how much, what percentage of like kids with autism or other diagnosed symptoms are actually using that like nationwide or here in Indiana?
Well, with Charlotte that we explained earlier, there's not much information on that because most kids do die from that syndrome and from some of these, and some die from either having that or from having an overdose on the insane amount of prescription pills and drugs that are induced into them. So the only real examples that we have is her benefiting from medical cannabis and actually living a life. Because she's 6 now and she was supposed to die when she was 2.
If you, we had watched this, there was a whole documentary that her story was part of. If you had watched before the introduction of cannabis, she couldn't even eat. She like had to be, it was liquid food diet that she was on. She couldn't talk. Like in the first year of life, she was developing, and then she has a twin. So her twin started to develop, started to talk, and you saw that she couldn't keep up. She stopped talking. Her seizures got so bad that she was catatonic. She couldn't move.
Did you talk to any legislators about this? What their position is on that? since you wanna go see about it. That probably would be a good idea to kind of explore where their perceptions and understanding is coming from, if you want to see it. But you talked about in your project about educating, promoting, and something else, explaining, the use and benefits, right? Focus on benefits, right? Who would you talk to? Who is your audience, and how will you do that?
Our overall community, because I'm pretty sure that our community is not well aware of the benefits of cannabis and what it can actually do for people.
So how will we discuss? How will that look like?
Maybe we'll start, we'd go door to door and just try to get a small movement behind it. And then as the movement grows, we'd start talking at school like this, like have meetings and school functions and try to spread the word and get the city of Boulderful behind us. And then the surrounding cities around behind us, and we go to the state level and try to get an audience with them and see if they would even listen to it. And we'd probably try to start a petition and get it legalized.
Just out of curiosity, how did you know that? How did you find out?
She was in the documentary by Dr. Sandra called Meet, and she was basically the main person that they were interviewing and following everyday family life and how it helped her on a day-to-day basis and kind of all the shit that they were doing.
But I think you seem to be, you concentrate most on how it's gonna benefit children. So, the number one fear that would come across, I'm a parent of 4, and so you're telling me you're going to medicinally treat children with marijuana. Now, go ahead.
If they're truly seeing the benefit.
It's not, this is the whole like backlash from saying marijuana. It's, everyone thinks, oh, they're gonna be lighting up, like it's not gonna be controlled, it's THC, it's psychoactive, I'm gonna be a child. Whereas if you take the THC out, it is a completely different drug. There is no side effects, that, like the seed things, just the side effects that THC would do, they're completely gone. And when you use the CBD, it's only medicinal. So, it's not that, I feel like it's just calling it marijuana scares people because it already has that on it. So, like you can get it in like syrups and you can get it in different ways. It doesn't have to be smoked, like it's just what it looks like and what it's known as. But
Well, kind of my point as I was moving on, I think you answered that very well. Maybe a segment that you're missing in our Alzheimer's patients and groups that you should convince that would benefit from this would be people who could receive immediate relief from it. But I also question, and I don't mean to control it, but I also question, you didn't bring up anything from California. California first legalized marijuana medicinally in 1996, and we had only bring in research from Colorado, which legalized it only last year.
We're just using them because they're the biggest foundation for it. Just, even though they just legalized it, they're just exploding with facts and information and statistics and real life examples.
California's